Confirmation hearings are continuing in the Senate this week with Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. and Kash Patel all appearing. What can we expect?
Yeah, these are going to be like wrestling matches. These are going to be the three toughest confirmation hearings along the lines of what we saw with Pete Hegseth, but perhaps with even more substantive policy debates between Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. One thing we might see come up with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is his use of government and his suggested or his prescribed use of government oversight, regulatory oversight. It's something that conservatives have long been really uncomfortable with, the way people like RFK Jr. have suggested that the federal government be used for a robust oversight. I think that's going to come up a lot because it's a very fundamental difference between him and a lot of conservatives, except one of the things you hear when you talk to Republican sources now is basically that they've made their peace with this and they're okay with having this upheaval because they're so tired of things like the vaccine mandates, which really opened up a lot of people on the right's eyes to things the federal government had done wrong. Tulsi Gabbard is going to get tons of questions about Edward Snowden. She's going to get questions about meeting with Bashar al-Assad. Those are going to be big areas of focus for even Republicans who are nervous about her confirmation, but will also likely go along with it. They're going to want to look tough in the questioning, though.
Okay, we'll wait and see what plays out this week. It will be interesting. Let's talk about the Middle East. US President Trump is proposing to relocate Palestinian refugees to neighbouring Arab countries. Now, Donald Trump has called on Egypt and Jordan to take in Palestinians from Gaza. Now, Trump added that they could be moved temporarily or it could be long term. This is obviously such a complicated issue, but it's one that Arab countries appear to not support. Emily, what can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, I think he really made a mistake in using the word clean out in those comments that he made on Air Force One, because it hits so many people in the Middle East and some of those countries that would be needed to help facilitate something like that as ethnic cleaning, as, you know, moving a group of people permanently. And it hits a lot of Gazans that way, too. I mean, the one thing that they do not want to do is be moved off of the land. And that's what basically all of the fighting has been about. So Trump has a very unorthodox approach to what's happening in the Middle East. Obviously, Steve Witkoff, his Middle East advisor, helped broker that ceasefire deal that virtually no other Republican would have been able to pull off. Trump did it. And so he comes to these issues in ways that other Republicans don't, other Republicans couldn't, wouldn't. And this is one of those, even being willing to kind of talk about this stuff. And he kind of learns and listens. So we'll see where it actually goes from here. But it seemed like something that really, I think, understandably put up red flags. But who knows where it actually goes in the future.
President Trump is set to sign an executive order today to create an Iron Dome missile defence shield for the US. This is according to reports out of CNN. And the system is obviously modelled after Israel's missile defence. And it's part of Trump's push to strengthen US's military security. Will this go ahead?
Yeah, we'll see what the plans develop into, because this could mean a lot of different things, but it's similar to what we were just talking about, in that Trump comes with a totally different perspective to some of these questions. And when people say that's impossible or impractical, he's able to suggest things that ultimately kind of broaden what the Overton window was. Like, if you couldn't talk about one thing, Trump says it, and then suddenly a whole new range of issues is possible because Donald Trump said it should be possible, and Republicans figure out a way to make it happen. So there might be something creative that they can come up with. I mean, Ronald Reagan obviously proposed Star Wars in the 1980s, and a lot of people look at that as a failure, but some of those technological innovations are still with us today, decades later. And Donald Trump loves kind of looking to great leaders of the past and figuring out how he can, be his own part of history. It's something that he does very intentionally. So there may be something that he's able to do with this, especially since he said he's going to do it. He doesn't want to leave and get questions about why he didn't do something that he said he's going to do. What it actually is an open question.
That's true. We'll watch this space. Look, I want to speak to you about California. Donald Trump visited California and wildfires continue to rage across the state. And amid the crisis, there are calls for California to separate from the US. Look, I think California needs Donald Trump, certainly more than Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass. But what did you get out of Trump's visit to California?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think a lot of Californians that aren't even Republicans or MAGA people found it incredibly satisfying to watch Trump talk to their local officials, Karen Bass, even Gavin Newsom, in this incredibly brazen, but actually, if you watch the video, almost uncharacteristically polite way. He just said very obvious points that you don't necessarily see aired publicly. Usually, these are things that maybe happen behind closed doors or said, very, very tentatively. But California's leadership is in such a hole. They are just desperate for something to shake them out of this terrible spiral that they've been in for decades, where everything is mismanaged because of incompetence and political corruption. It's a deep, deep one-party state with very little opposition from Republicans, and Republicans need to fix that too. Donald Trump may have given them a big boost by actually going to California immediately within his first week, talking tough to the leaders there, making a lot of sense, saying things that are sort of very logical and obvious, and looking like a pragmatic guy. That could be a real boost to people who are trying to fuel the opposition to Democrats in California.
Emily Jashinsky, DC correspondent at UnHerd, thank you so much for joining us on Power Hour.
Thanks.